How's everybody doing today? Good, good, great, man. Beautiful.
All right, obviously, you and the team are moving on to the next game, but certainly there's many fans and many in the community that want to linger in the afterglow of Saturday. How do you get the team focused on that and not on pep rallies that were 45 minutes ago?
Just that. I mean, it was 45 minutes ago. Um, we had that discussion on Sunday. Exactly what it is. I mean, it's a great win for our community. It's a big rivalry that our school takes very seriously and our community takes very seriously. But we still have the meat of our schedule that we have to play, and the MAC is always every week is tough, and we've got another opponent that we have to get ready for here, and we hopefully we can use that same momentum and excitement and joy that we shared on last Saturday, and bring it to this game on that's coming up on against Central Michigan. So this is a part of the deal, and we understand it. We know what we have to do. We've got to get better. We're very fortunate to walk away with a victory, but on paper, we got outplayed, and we got to figure out ways where we can get better on all three phases. And we got to be able to score points. We got to be able to stop teams. We need to stop them. And that's it. I mean, we got to find a way to get better each and every week. So there's definitely room for improvement.
As you mentioned, on paper, you guys got beat. I don't know if you're into analytics as much as some other coaches, but if you look at it analytically, how did you guys win that game?
We made some plays. I mean, I think it was obvious. We won the turnover battle. We didn't give up big explosives. Once our defense settled down in the first half, we were able to muster some drives together. Offensively, it was inept at times. It didn't look like we were going to get a yard, but we were able to put a few drives together. We hit on a couple of big plays, and certainly the big play before halftime was huge for us to cut that lead down to a two-score game. And we were able to settle down and say, hey, we just got to come back out and live what we preach every day in terms of our culture, our ethos, and so forth. And we were able to make plays and create turnovers, and we did just that. So, and I'll say this too. The crowd had a big part in that. When you have a crowd behind you and they can build off of that energy, the kids feed off of that energy, the coaches feed off of that energy, and it shifted the momentum tremendously in the second half. I thought we were going to give up, another 21 points to that offense, but our defense made some plays, and they didn't give up a score at all in the second half. We shut them out in the second half. A very, very good offensive unit. So really pleased of how we responded collectively, didn't panic. We stayed the course. We continued to believe, and the ball bounced our way in the second half.
Speaking of defense, Gideon Lampron, the MAC Defensive Player of the Week. What have you seen from him this season? What did you see from him specifically Saturday in that win?
Saturday, looking at the first half, he wasn't very good. He wasn't a good player at all. His eyes were everywhere. He was undisciplined, didn't make the right fits. There were some things that he could have done better. But again, he settled down and just relaxed and allowed the game to come to him, and made some big plays for us. And had tackles for loss and showed up. It was just pretty much an eraser throughout the whole deal. And Gideon's been that way since he's been here. I really felt good about our linebacking room. Certainly with Pringle, with him in there, it was a really good duo. But Caden Marshall's coming along as well, and Coach Joe Bowden does a phenomenal job with getting those guys prepared, no matter who's stepping in. We believe in the power of the unit and making sure that each and every guy is ready to step in. So Gideon, again, he is now the captain of our defense, the middle linebacker, making the calls, the quarterback of our defense, and he's just done a phenomenal job.
Speaking of quarterback, where are you at quarterback going forward with Drew Pine's injury and the way Lucian played?
Lucian has to get better. First start, understand the situation. It wasn't a game plan where we could unfold our entire deal. We had to really play to his strengths and try to limit the amount of mistakes that could have been made. just to keep his confidence and to keep everything going. And he did a phenomenal job. What we didn't do well was support him in terms of an efficient run game. We were hoping that we would get more yards out of our run game, especially on first and second down, so he can then have a decision to say, hey, we can either throw it or run it, kind of take the game out of his hands a little bit. But they were emphatic on stopping the run. They had 9 men, 10 men in the box at times, and they were going to say, hey, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us by throwing it. So we had to stretch the field a little bit, take some deep shots, and got some fortunate calls for us, and we were able to capitalize on those. So when it counted, he made some big-time throws. The fade down here to Joshua Harris, and then to Kadarius, another big play. So he's coming along. So his eyes are going to settle, and he's got to get better this week. There were some missed opportunities where, there were some reads that he shouldn't have handed it off, or he shouldn't have handed off the ball, shouldn't have thrown it. So he's got to grow in that capacity. So we'll see. And Drew is day to day still. We're still not clear on his status, but over the next couple of days we'll find out and we'll know.
The T's are still crossed out on campus for now. What was the kind of was that something that you came up with? Was that something?
No, I had nothing to do with that at all. That was more of I don't got time for that, man. I mean, it's cute. It's something that Ohio State did. Certainly with our big game against the team up north. But I can't get caught into that trivial stuff, and it's fun for the rivalry. But that's something our marketing team came up with. I wish I came up with an idea. I got to focus on, getting my quarterback ready and this team ready to play against some really good football teams.
Yeah. Central Michigan, another first-year head coach. What do you make of them as an opponent?
A formidable opponent. I mean, they're very tough, well coached. He has a background, comes from coached at West Point and Army, so they're going to come in very disciplined. This is a team that you got to be mindful of. You look at the MAC. I think it was Ohio that we played 2 weeks ago. They beat us, and then they lost to Ball State the following week. And so on any given Saturday, somebody can be beat, and it's not. And that's what you have to be prepared for. Yes, we beat Toledo, great. Next up, we've got to come with the same intensity, the same passion, and turn it up a notch, because this is October football. This is bloody October. This is the moving point. And it sets it up for November when you got to win championships. Can you close the deal? So we've got work to do. We're by no means we're a finished product. We haven't even scratched the surface on what we can do as an offense, as a defense. We're still talking about the same things over and over again. And once we begin to close the gap on those things, we can be a pretty good football team. We just have to be more consistent, and that's what I'm focused on.
There's a lot of folks wanted to know what the Eddie George speech was at halftime to turn the table like that. But in talking with the defensive players, I think Coach Fisher played a big part in that as well, didn't he? The defensive coordinator getting ready for the second half. He said they were playing for him and for each other in the second half. He must have had quite a speech to him as well.
No, I didn't say much at all, honestly. I think because when in those moments, it's not a win for the Gipper moment. I think it's what we preach every day. What's been established since I got here in the spring has been talked about, and I just kind of reinforced that message. Fish did a great job of getting their guys settled, telling them to get out their feelings, to play ball, to get violent knockback, and it was for me to say, hey, let's go out here and take it one play at a time. Focus on winning one battle, one play, one moment at a time, and take it to them and empty your clip. So that was it. It was nothing grandiose. It was nothing flowery. It was nothing like the Al Pacino speech. Hey, in those moments, speeches don't win you games. The inspiration does. So you have to remind these kids that, hey, trust your training. Trust you're ready for this moment. Trust the brotherhood, because that's what it comes down to. Trust the culture, because culture and toughness wins those types of games. And those kids believed in it, and they found a way to win, the ugly way. And that was it.
Being a part of some huge wins in your career as a player, how was the emotion different as a coach? It seemed like you were a little emotional when you got in the post game press conference there after you witnessed how
Oh
the
yeah.
community embraced that win.
I was excited for the kids and how they fought for each other. I watched the team really grow in that capacity. Um, listen, during the course of a season, you're going to get tested. You may have a big lead. You may have to hold on to that lead. You may be behind. You're going to go through the ebbs and flows of a season, and it's how you respond in those moments. That's what matters. So we found out who we were a little bit. This past week, and to see them really embrace and live what we're talking about, living the standard in such a short period of time, is pretty phenomenal. And kudos to them. They really have taken every word that we preach, that we talk about every single day, and are not buying in. They've taken ownership of that. And that's a big difference. We talk about buying in. Buying in is a rental mentality. If you rent a car, you're not going to treat it with the same care if you own it. If you own it, you're going to get the oil changed on time. You're going to wash it. You're going to keep it clean. You're going to do everything you can to maintain it. So these kids are treating this program like that because it's their blood, their sweat, their tears, and we grind like that. We think that like that, and we live it. We breathe it. It's not just words on the wall. It's not something that we visit every now and again. It's something that we talk about every single day, every single moment you walk in this building. So they've embraced it, and we're going to continue to grow in that capacity.
Coach, looks like Central Michigan, real physicality is sort of their calling card. They run the ball way more than they throw the ball, which is very unusual in today's game. Talk about their physicality, what you've seen from them in preparation.
It's just that. They're very physical, and this conference is physical, and that's something that we believe as well. We have to be a physical ball club to win ball games. That's the first brick that's laid. I believe that you have to be able to run the football to win in this league, and that's how they're built. So we expect a physical matchup, and we're just going to have to go out there and put our best foot forward.
They use two quarterbacks. Looks like the one's kind of the runner, one's the passer, but you have to be wary of them switching that up. But give me your evaluation on the two different quarterback styles.
Well, I just got my eyes on them. One is a thrower, one is more of a runner, like you talked about. They use them in different situations. I really hadn't gotten a true beat on their tendencies just yet. They both run it effectively. You're going to see quarterback run game. You're going to see them, line up and run A-gap power, come downhill a little bit. They mix it up a lot, but we got to be conscious to have a game plan for both of them.
Any more questions? All right, I have one, Coach. What's your message to fans and students to come back after such a big game?
Let's keep the party going. Let's keep the momentum going. I think it was awesome to see a packed house here at the Doit on a game like that, and a great day. I mean, it was beautiful outside, and they were the reason why we were able to make that comeback. I mean, it was no question in my mind no doubt about that at all. As I played and coached in front of stands where there's maybe 4 or 5 people in the stands, and you got to generate your own energy, and it's a little bit, is a big difference when you have 24,000 fans supporting you and screaming for you and urging you on. That's when you're playing for something greater than yourself, and that's a wonderful feeling. So come on out, let's keep the party going and keep the momentum going in the right direction.
How long did you guys celebrate the win?
Definitely had a good night after. Sunday was fun too, but we had to correct the mistakes that we made because there was a lot of them in the game. But it's definitely still feeling great. But we're looking forward to next week, and we have a really good opponent coming in here.
How do you put that game behind you guys and focus completely on Central for the next 6 days?
Yeah, it's definitely tough after beating a rival like that, especially in the manner that we did it. It definitely feels good. Everyone on the team's still thinking about it a little bit for sure. But, we got to put it behind us, and we need to come and treat every week the same as we did last week. It's going to starts tomorrow morning once we come in for meetings. We just got to, enjoy the win because, everyone is, but we're going to put it behind us and move on.
One last thing about that game, then we will move on. At least I will. You were named MAC Defensive Player of the Week. Coach George said in the first half you weren't good. Defense wasn't good first half. What changed at halftime? How do you keep whatever you guys did in the second half going forward?
I definitely want to take a lot of the responsibility for us not playing good in the first half. The communication wasn't there on my part. I was making uncharacteristic mistakes, just things that I should not be doing, and it just really, put us behind. It's definitely a team sport, but being the mic with the green dot on your helmet, we control like how things go on the defensive side, and I just got to put it on myself. But the plan at halftime was to make it more simple. Stop making these uncharacteristic mistakes. And we were looking at film, things that went wrong, and we didn't switch up what we were running really. But we were able to come together. We got settled in pretty much. In the second half, we came out and did our job.
Looking at Central Michigan, what's the biggest challenge, particularly with an offensive attack that kind of has two different quarterbacks, almost a split offenses?
It's tough. But the biggest thing with that is just trying to recognize what they run with each quarterback so we can kind of, get keys, because we know when one quarterback's in the game, they're going to be running a certain style of offense and how it's going to change when each are in. So it's going to be fun.
Gideon, are you surprised at how much success you've had so far at the D1 level here? What was the transition like for you? Because obviously you've fit right in a leadership role here.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't the most vocal person. I still am not. It's kind of just been leading by example, always trying to do the right thing. And, coming into such a program like this, there's a lot of new faces in. So there's not too many older guys on the team that have been here for all 4 or 5 years. So it was easy to somewhat, take a leadership role here. But I just got to give credit to the whole defense. We've had some issues this year just communicating. Injuries happen. I lost my partner early in the season. He's irreplaceable. He's incredible, Dorian Pringle. But the standard cannot change. The defense doesn't change, and we had to keep doing our thing. And I'm just so proud of how we played, especially in the second half of that game. It's how we need to play every game.
I asked Coach Eddie about the defensive coach, Coach Fisher, the defensive coordinator, and the speech he had for you guys at halftime. It wasn't all just up to Eddie to get you guys motivated. It sounds like Coach Fisher had some select words as well. Huh?
Yeah, Coach Fisher, I love him so much. Glad that he's my coach. His halftime speech was, he was cooking us a little bit, which had happened. We had a rough first half, but he kind of just said this is what we look forward to every single year. In that he believes in us, and he knows that if we can get the score within 7 points, we're going to win the game. That was his biggest thing. He promised us that we will win if we're within 7 points. And, we somewhat simplified what we were doing. And, I'm just so proud of how we played. He got us ready.
What was it like for you being in the center of the storm like that in VGUT game, your first time being on the field and having 25,000 fans yelling for you?
It was unreal. I mean, that's why people come to Bowling Green, is to play in that game. And not too many people have gotten to play in a sold out stadium, especially here against that team. It was unbelievable. I mean, I've never had anything in my life like that. My last school had 2,000 people at it at the home games. So, it was unreal.
Is there any concern? We had a celebration today on campus. We're still celebrating the win. And we got another game coming up in 4 or 5 days. What do you think among your teammates? Everybody going to be able to put this behind them and realize that there's a lot of season left?
Yeah, I do. And that was just kind of for the school, the community and stuff like that. I know the coaches in this building, they took a little bit of their time to go there, but they're still in here all day game planning, and all the players, we're going to enjoy it a little bit, but we all know what we have coming up, and that our next opponent is Central Michigan. They are a good football team, and that we need to come and play Saturday.
All right, RJ. How many times had you practice that pass?
Practiced it a few times in practice, but that was definitely the best rep we had at it all week. So it definitely worked out just like we drew it up.
With a 1,000% completion percentage, do you have bragging rights over the other quarterbacks now?
I want to say I have bragging rights. Their job is still a lot harder than mine. It was only one read. You throw it there, take off running, but I definitely gave them a little bit of, they gave me some props for throwing a good ball. But, I've been talking a little noise a little bit.
What has the last 48 hours been like for you and for the team? What have you gotten any messages from folks that kind of just blew your mind that they saw what you guys did?
Yeah, there was a lot of support from the fans, a lot of support from former players that used to be on the team. It was a big win for the program, for Coach George, his first time playing the team up north. It was a good win for us, and we were excited about it, but we're definitely ready to move on to our next opponent this week.
What's the biggest challenge with Central Michigan coming into town now?
They're a good football team, really disciplined and sound. Don't make a lot of mistakes in the back end coverage, but for the most part, we're a process-oriented team. Just focus on every day how we're going to attack our process, because at the end of the day, it's about how we do our jobs and how well we execute.
50 yards of passing against a really good Toledo defense. You had 50 of them. But what is the upside, you think, for the passing game? Because I know Coach wants to continue to. I think there's a real opportunity for growth there.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to reps and just being efficient with our time in practice and just getting on the same page with the quarterbacks and the tight ends. When we're all on the same page and we're all doing our job, all 11 people out there, we're a pretty good offense. But it's those times when one person's not on the same page that things start to get a little haywire, and we're working on that, and we're going to get better at it.
Is it more difficult when you've got a 1A and a 1B right now? I mean, trying to get that chemistry worked out when you're not really sure who's going to be throwing to you?
I want to say it makes it difficult. I believe in Drew and Lucian, both those guys. We have a lot of reps throwing with both of them, but just trying to get on the same page with them. And everybody throws the ball a little different, and them getting on the same timing with us coming to our routes. But we work on it every day, and we believe in both those guys.
Staying with the quarterback theme, what was Drew like last week? What was Lucian like last week as they realized that Drew was not going to be able to play and that it's going to be Lucian's start?
Yeah, I think Drew did a great job of just being a support system for Lucian. For anybody, I remember my first game playing college football, it was a whirlwind. So I can only imagine, Lucian, his first start at quarterback versus a team up north at home in a sold-out crowd. And Drew did a great job all week. Coach Partridge, Baron May, all of them just did a good job being a support system for him. Any questions he had, anything at all, they were all with him. They're a really close group. I'm sure there's videos of them, Drew hobbling out there on the field with a boot, jumping up, hugging Lucian. So there's no resentment in that room at all. They just want to see the team, want what's best for the team too.